president of hi guys, I'm the president of APG, Animation Producers Guild. My name is Caitlin Westermeyer. Sorry, cough card.
Yeah. I think that's the first question I actually have too.
Yes.
Introduce yourself. Yeah, there you go.
Hi, I'm Leia. I am the WIA ICC liaison, which kind of means nothing. I am a senior StoryCon, and I specialize in visual development.
Hi, my name is Javi. I am a junior in StoryCon, and I'm representing the Sky Cosmic Art Club.
Hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm a junior tech anim major, and I am representing the Reading Union.
Hi, I'm Valeria. I'm a senior, and I'm representing the Stonewall Club as the treasurer.
Hi, I'm Shannon. Currently a junior with studying 3D character animation, and I'm representing me as the vice president and the Scottish Club as the president.
Hi guys, my name is Pia. I'm a StoryCon major. I'm going to talk about production. I'm here representing Sky Cosmic Art Club.
Hello, my name is Christopher Lynn, and I'm also a member of the Sport Club, and I'm a junior in Sport Club.
My name is Ashmir. I am the design liaison for 2D Extreme, and I'm the junior with 2D as my major.
My name is Glenn. I'm representing X as a server. 2D animation major. Also doing.
Sorry. Oh, you're just okay. So hi, I'm Denise. I'm officer for VIA, junior, and also representing tech. So that's fun.
Yay! Cool. So we have quite a big panel today. But thank you guys all for being here. So we'll start off with some kind of general questions. But first of all, elaborate on what you do in your concentration. So I'll kind of do this since we're not all sitting together by concentration. I'll just start with, I'm biased. I'm a StoryCon major. I'm going to start with StoryCon. So, I guess any of our StoryCon majors, if you want to elaborate, what do you guys do in your concentration?
We have the best concentration. I specialize in visual development, concept art, that sort of thing. Storyboarding is also a part of StoryCon.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit.
That's another point.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot to do with pre-production, so creating assets that are used by 3D modelers, all the 3D teams, your 2D teams, layout teams. Question.
So like, just the ideas before like getting into the full thing, like, making models,
Sometimes,
outfits for the character, the effects.
Design, yeah. Usually all the design that goes into making final production.
Nice.
Yeah.
Script writing is also part of it.
Yes, that's a good point. Script writing too. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Let's go. What about 2D?
It's talking the actual best concentration. No, we're focused mostly on like just like the production of just like the character movements, effects, things of that nature. We take what like a story has given us, with the boards, the scripts, and we
Make them, and we draw a lot.
we draw a lot. If you like drawing a lot consistently, keeping them on model and volume, and you like drawing the same thing 1,000 times with minor changes, where you're at. I'm over here.
Yeah.
We still like, get our own characters sometimes.
So I would say if you're more interested in like obviously you always animate your own things in your own time. But
I still want to animate, I want to design it, I want to.
yes, when you want to create characters, StoryCon where you would go, their character designers, it's punch art, things like that.
And for 2D animation is more so that we have an existing character already, kind of like animation. So it's not like they're really leaning on designing new characters from scratch before animating.
We still learn though, but the animating evidence.
Of course, you can still learn. You can learn.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And then Shannon, how about 3D animation?
So the actual best concentration.
Okay.
You have to say it. Always stay on model. You don't have to play around with that. But basically, kind of similar to 2D, we take any of the storyboards and we get character designs, rigs, models, and we bring them to life. We kind of have an easier way of moving around cameras, animating cameras, so we don't have to figure out that that's a little 2D. It's very fun. And we can play a lot with sphere frames. There's a lot of kind of cheap methods that really bring an animation to life. Kind of like Spider-Verse, we can play with spacing, timing, style. it really is just a great opportunity to just explore all aspects of how to make a character move in 3D.
Yeah, cool. And then tech and visual effects, and can you clarify the difference or lack thereof?
Yeah. Best concentration.
Yeah.
What don't
exist
anymore? We do though.
We made it too fire, they had to discontinue.
They got close to the sun and they were like, all right, get out.
Everyone was switching.
Everyone was genuinely though. We do a lot of like pre and post production. So we do like the asset building, we do modeling, texturing, rigging, lighting, all of the troubleshooting in between, pausing after the animation's done, putting everything together, rendering. We do kind of everything around actual animation. As for the difference for tech versus VFX, you're not allowed to join tech anymore.
Nope.
But you can stay if you're still part of it. But to be so fair, you kind of go for the same job market. So it doesn't really matter what word is on your degree, because you're learning the same skills. But I wear the word tech with pride. We got it.
Yeah, okay, so I feel like tech overall is very much, you have to learn a lot and you have to be willing to not be good at stuff sometimes. I feel like with any concentration. But it's definitely learning from like the very, very basics, like from the start. I feel like I don't know how Animal 190 works out. Because that's really what got me into tech, because I really loved the modeling process. If that's something you are interested in, tech is amazing with that. Just like being able to see your creations, like then move on and come to life is so great. I love it.
If there's anything, even the slightest bit of 3D that interests you besides animation, there's a whole route of like deep dive rabbit holes you can explore through tech anim that you don't even know exists.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh,
I had a question, sort of about, I was gonna say, like, would you say the main difference, not so much the concentration, but like, what the class involved was like tech leaned more so to like stylization / working on fakes that involved like story, quote unquote, whereas vis effects, I feel like, at least from what I've seen, was closer to like realism or like matching a specific thing.
In my experience, that's kind of dependent on your professor, because every VFX class I've taken has like emphasized how everything needs to be story driven. So maybe I've gotten luckier.
What I was gonna say, because I haven't taken many VFX.
I've had a good time, honestly, kind of exploring how they kind of mesh together. Because I feel like, personal opinion, I feel like the way that they advertised the merge between tech and VFX, everything they said was like so not how it actually feels. Because I don't know, I feel like the merge works really well, and the skills cross over really easily. And you're kind of taking the same classes either way, you're just kind of having to decide what to focus on, which is what you would have done if you'd stayed in tech anim anyway. So, yeah.
And another reason why like they changed the name or whatever is because like a technical animator means like a different thing for each field, like for games versus like movies and all that. So a lot of what people are doing, like if you're just a modeler and you're like, oh, I'm a technical animator, they're gonna expect you to know like coding and stuff like that. Probably mostly just coding and scripts and stuff than just like, you know what I
They
mean?
expect you to know, they expect you to know a little bit about a lot of things, and yeah, no, I'm struggling for my first coding class right now, I understand, so.
It's just like when you're job searching, you're like technical animator, you're gonna be like, wait, I don't know, this is not what I'm doing or what I'm measuring in. So that's another reason why they like changed the name or merged us with VFX. But yeah.
Well, I would say, let's see, are we allowed to like keep asking questions right now, or should we wait?
Well, let's wait just because I want to get to stop mo and production.
Yeah.
Let's stop.
Let's go.
So, technically, stop motion is not a concentration or a minor, it's that, doesn't know what to do with us, and that's partially because we have way too many majors involved. Stop motion takes a little bit of film, a little bit of production design, a little bit of tech animation, a little bit of, well, 2D. Well, you're basically combining animation with physical assets and media. So what you learn in the classes within SCAD is, first of all, how to do a puppet, you sculpt. You learn how to do armatures, you start working with silicone and other chemicals such as plaster, to learn the fundamentals of how to make a character animatable for the medium of stop motion. But once you take that class, stop motion 1, and you like the lab and you want to stay there, you basically just find ways to make stop motion part of your SCAD journey, and that's what I've been doing. I took step 1, 2, which is 2 other classes, so technically there's 3 official classes. plus the 3 capstone classes you can take. And in that time, like the world's your oyster. There's people who just go into stop motion and they only want to concentrate on sewing miniature costumes. And so that's what they focus on in the lab, and they become like seamstress for stop motion. We have people who are set builders, and so they learn how to build rooms to scale, construct environments, stuff like that. Personally, I focus on the animation. So I've even tried asking a few of my 3D professors, because that's my actual concentration, to take a few of their assignments and put it in the lab. So honestly, it is just, I think, an area of SCAD you can explore if you're interested in the medium. And it's something you can take as far as you want, or you can just be a little bit of dabbling your feet. But once you're in there, I know very few people who want to go out. It's a very small group of people. We're over at Adler, where we have our lab. We have access to some like of the best equipment, industry standard stuff that you wouldn't be able to access in your house. So if you want to learn like the industry standard way of doing stop motion, it's like the classes, they're wonderful.
That really does not make sense. I have one question because I guess this always seems to be in a big conversation. Do you feel like claymation and stop motion do they like separate up that you feel?
No, I think I would define stop motion as just you're using like live assets to animate them. So it doesn't need to be a difference between if your puppet's made out of clay or if your puppet's made out of silicone. We do both in the lab. There's this film. It was done for a stop motion project, basically like a collaborative project we do. It's called Chocolate Retriever, and it was done with clay. Though usually our standard puppets are made out of foam or silicone, but the process is pretty much the same. It's just what you cast out of.
I just wonder why they even have claymation of things that still stop motion.
It's just like a little specification, you know, how we would be like, oh, like this is 2D, but it's like Disney style, you know, it's just specifying a little bit more like what you're using your media.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then last but not least, production. Yeah. You want me to start? Yeah, sure.
So there isn't like really a class or like a thing. We really get ignored, even though we're the backbone of most productions and just everything in general. So a lot of what we do is like organizing and making sure that a project is getting done on time and that it's done in general. So we're not really like, you know, it's different when you're a student, you might have a little more creative control, but when you're out in the field, you're more so organizing like financials, like scheduling, all the nitty gritty stuff, and you have less I'd say you have less creative control. And a lot of people don't like that, but but typically if a job is things that people don't want to do, you get paid more for it. So
Yeah.
and yeah, so I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. But if you'd like to
add to that, how I would describe production is basically if you're like a production assistant or sort of like a production coordinator or whatever they call us, right? It's essentially you're doing everything to make sure your artists stay as artists. So you're doing literally everything to make sure that all that they have to put to drawing or like creating or like that's all they have to do. And so everything else like deadlines, scheduling, where they can put them involved, formatting and stuff like that. All of that is kind of like what you have to make sure they do. And producing is not really told or like even like mentioned that often in classes. And I think that's why a lot of people don't know what it is. But it's really essential to the team because like if you have like a really nicely produced, organized project, it's enjoyable for you to work on it. But then if like you don't, and they can just like it really determines whether or not that project even gets published or not is how it is.
That was perfect. Yeah. And yeah, that's a big thing. People don't really know the difference between like a director and a producer.
Yeah.
Even before I went to SCAD, I was like, oh, they're the same thing. But like if you're like, I want to do an indie part, whatever, but I don't need a producer, I can do it all myself. But you're trying to direct the artistic, you know what I mean, part of it, processes while you're like, oh, but I also need to schedule things and understand, you know, when things need to get done. It becomes like, oh, I can't do this. Like this
and
is
it's a lot more work than you think.
Yeah, a lot more work. Yeah.
Who has higher authority over the project?
Ooh, I would say I kind of feel like a director to producer, at least from my experience, like you work hand in hand. Like a director, like honestly, like if I'm like just like, it's a little different on my capstone right now, but I'm producing on like an indie project. I'm like, I don't care what this thing looks like. I don't care the art that you know, whatever. It could look like absolute dog shit. I just need to make sure that this is getting done, even if it does look like dog shit. And that is the reality of the job. So again, like if a director is like, oh, I want to do this, but it's only, you know, but a producer has to be like, wait, like, I don't know if we have the time or the resources or the people to do this. And then the director needs to take a step back and reevaluate. So again, it's a hand-in-hand process.
I want to say, something like this.
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I was just whispering myself. I said that sounds like fun.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Excel sheets.
Right.
But I wouldn't say like one is higher because I know like in the field you're like, oh, this is higher because their names gets like it gets shown there. So.
Yeah.
But I think it's like it's less about who's higher or what, but it's more about what they do because those are two different levels. Because directing is more about like what is the story, what does the art look like, what is the art direction that we want, the theme and everything that's like very artistic, that's the director. The producer is more of like you can't do that, oh let's do that, or like they want this thing that they're doing and having a creative problem, and the producers are like, oh I can look into that, see if we have any resources to like support you on that idea. So it's like it's a different technical brain.
It's very left brain, right brain.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
like the producer
experience.
kind of keeps the director in check
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks for all the very thorough answers. That's really cool. Very helpful. Back under here. Next question. Okay. Now we talked a bit about kind of like what we do. But let's go a bit more into like the kind of classes that you take in your concentration and just like in general in SCAD and professor recommendations. I know that I can already sense some of them, but yeah, we can start with StoryCon if you want.
So most of your StoryCon all of your StoryCon classes are gonna be in the Anim track.
Yeah.
Obviously. You will take classes that will teach you about character design, environment design, you'll take screenwriting classes, you'll take a storyboarding class, and you'll take a collaborative class that kind of puts those different functions together. I would say StoryCon is definitely changing a bit though. Some of the screenwriting classes are kind of pushed into more storyboard and even some animation. I don't know if that's staying, but that seems to be what's happening this quarter. They're testing it out at 365 with Eric Shaw right now. I'm thinking like specifically professors though. Jonathan Standing, 325. 325. It will literally change your life. It will change your life. I promise you. The way that he
Honestly, I
teaches
think you
you,
take it no matter what your major.
no matter what your major is, I think it is such a great class to take.
It's the best.
It's not just the content.
Like any major, like you business and beauty.
Yes.
Yes. Honestly, yeah. Because then they'll change majors.
Yes, it's not just the content. I think the way that he teaches you how to approach design is invaluable. He's the most straight up professor I think I've had this far.
He's also so fun.
He's also very fun, and he's British. So like,
Yeah, he worked on The Boys.
You worked on Boys.
Famously,
Yeah.
huge fan of
It's like-
Boys.
What was the name again?
325.
Standing, and I'm 325.
He's sneezing so hard right now.
Yeah, that's great. He's also one of the chairs.
Yes.
So if you do well, he'll give you special privileges.
This is
Get you out of
true.
classes.
This is true.
Give you special.
So, like this, so I try to write this down, but I realized like this is a lot to know. Maybe like after this meeting, could you guys all like maybe do some list of these teachers? So
Yeah, for
so-
sure.
so
We
y'all-
can definitely
so y'all
do that.
know, and also like what you said, just point out just bullet points of their good points of why you like them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would write them down, but I'm not very fast.
No, you're good. Sorry. So
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. I think StoryCon, it's called Story and Concept. It's a little bit misleading because I would argue, I mean, it's pivoting now, but previously I would say that, and I've heard this from Standing actually, that storyboarders should be taking the anim classes because a lot of times you basically have to be able to animate a character. And the problem with StoryCon is there's kind of two tracks, and there's the design track and then there's the storyboarding, which are kind of completely different things. So you will end up kind of doing certain things that you aren't really relevant to you if you're in StoryCon, which is a little bit frustrating.
Do you think that you benefit from being forced to do both?
Yes.
Because I think being aware of the other person's pipeline is essential, and I think for StoryCon, you need to know 3D too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you should be
Tech
taking those
classes.
3D classes, you should be wearing as many hats as you
Yeah.
can and learning as many skills as you can to diversify yourself. If not for the sake of boosting your own skills, but so that you understand how your design affects everybody else in the pipeline.
But if you are interested in boarding, you should absolutely be taking 2D again.
2D.
Yes.
I was previously StoryCon before I started over to 2D. I told them, hey, I want to be a storyboard artist, but I do animation as well. And you had me do StoryCon, and then when I was signing up for my classes and like for the winter quarter, I was like, hey, where's my animation class? They're like, oh, you don't have any. So I think personally that animation is better for sporting, but I took my 275 already, so I was like already in StoryCon, so I'm taking my electives for StoryCon. So I feel like if you want to be a storyboard artist, 2D animation, but also have StoryCon as your elective classes.
Don't take a minor. It's not worth it.
Yes,
It's not worth it. Just do whatever. Make
Minor,
it
minor, yeah.
Oh, give Paula Wallace your money.
Hot take, don't do sequel.
What if we wanna
That's great. It's context. Classes, even if you're not in your graduation plan, just like, because you wanna learn, so you really, having a minor assigned to you is not necessary, I don't think, like, if you are truly interested, you'll take those classes anyway.
It could be also restricted.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
also
like,
your
you're
employer is
free
not
to
gonna
take-
look at, oh, this person minor in
Yeah.
storyboarding. Like,
Yeah,
you're not
They
gonna
don't,
do that.
they-
You're free to take any classes you want, and usually the minor classes involve lectures and other things that you really don't wanna spend your money on. So if you, let's say, want to indulge in photography, just sign up for the classes,
Yeah.
ask for waivers, talk to teachers, but don't limit yourself to a degree planner just for the sake of the minor title, unless you're doing like a business minor, then yeah, go for it.
I would say like only declare a minor if you're doing it like retroactively, like if you're already planning on taking all 5 classes, you can just go through and do it anyway. But don't lock in on it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, locked in on my minor because it's evergreen.
You get 4 electives as an animator. You get 1 animation elective and 3 free electives. So you can take anything involving animation with those 4. So there's no need for a minor.
No, don't do that.
Do you have any professor recommendations for 2D?
Oh, something.
But we're just He's so loaded.
So I had her for 2 of it. And I feel like if you want to be an excellent animator and you actually want someone who's kind and actually want to give you feedback, while also not tearing you, well, kind of taking down a little bit. But in a way where it's so much information being thrown at you, and she finds a way to make it palatable and also way for you to understand it. It's so helpful. There's so many people who've come out of her class and you show like your animation, oh, you have a sneak, didn't you? Like this is the way you can just tell her quality of teaching is so superb. I just like, if you are doing animation, take over to me at any point, whether it's 202 or it's 332 or it's even if it's animation business.
Anything, like, if you see her name, just like, click it, just get in past. Be worth it, you know.
There's also
There's also, I think Kat is good. She's very heavy on timing chart, like time out things. She's not like, oh, Sneak is very like, she's very particular about staying on model, keeping your character consistent. Kat is not that particular about that, but she wants to see everything that and she's really fun if you're like more like if you want like a more lax professor and you want to talk about video games and like just like random like how like Gen Z generation stuff. Kat.
Can you spell her name, please?
Kat.
What's your last name?
Stevie.
Yeah. SKE.
I would say also Professor Rich, because as a 2D, if
You
you're,
need to talk about 2D rigging.
yeah, if you're a
That's like-
3D animator, you're going to take 272, and depending on what class you take, you're either going to hate it or love it. So I say if it is wait if you have to.
So wait if you have to.
It is necessary, I feel like, to have Professor Rich. As someone who had I had rigging experience before I came to this guy, the way he explained it to me made it so that I kind of fell in love with the medium. I still prefer traditional, But the way he goes about teaching it and the way he is so passionate about it is so contagious. And I was able to, from just his class alone, do things with puppets that I would never thought I would have been capable of ever. He did not have you type it, it's like, oh, it's a puppet, you're stuck with this. He says, don't think of it as a puppet, you're just already, you already finished your line art and your colors. And you're just breaking the model like hell to get whatever poses you want, any exaggeration you want, and the way he just goes about teaching it is so informative. So that's another one.
I think, yeah, 2D rigging is very technical in nature, especially the rigging part, and that's why a lot of people don't like it. But in Rich's class, he breaks down everything so that you can understand it, and you know how to do it, regardless of whether you like it or not. So I think it's really worth it.
He was basically like a walking cartoon character. Like
Yeah.
that's he's the living being of a 2D character.
I have never had a class with this man, but every now and then he sees me in the hallway, I'm just saying hi, cause I traded him a Pepsi for a donut one time.
He also was behind the steering wheel, advanced raking, and
Oh,
we would constantly hear him.
Yeah.
Like, was it really? That was
Yeah,
all-
for last year.
He's also My Little Pony from there. Character modeling, I think he's like far behind. I can still hear him when he's playing like Baby Shark for anime.
I love it.
He's also very internet famous for something very specific.
Oh, yeah.
Double rainbows.
Double
Yeah.
rainbow.
Also,
Yeah,
it's happening this quarter, but last week he gives away like 3 donuts.
He does Elmore.
Yeah.
That's my turn. What's his
Cause I wasn't in
name?
his class.
Professor Rich. So
Exactly.
Rich, so, or IC.
Already.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like.
What was it?
It was.
I don't even know. Maybe.
What's
RICH.
Yeah. Shannon, do you want to talk about 3D?
Yes. So I originally started in 2D. My recommendation, I think you should at least do one training class 2 because that helped me so much figure out 3D animation, how to push exaggeration in 3D animation. It's very easy to kind of fall back into realism, like, oh, it's just a human body. I know. Well, taking at least one 2D animation class really advances you in 3D. But speaking about the classes, currently right now it's a lot of practice animation, so the typical ball bounce is the introduction class, and then you move on to character expressions, and then there's the collab class. The collab class that I'm in right now is with Professor Ryan Smith from Unreal Engine. The best thing about 3D, I think, is that you really have a weird technology behind it. So Maya from Anna 190 was a lot. It was a lot to figure out, and it overwhelmed a lot of students. It overwhelmed me, but as soon as you kind of figure out niche in it, it gets so much easier. It gets so much simpler, and you're able to push the boundaries a lot. You can learn. So like little things, little tweaks here and there, but really thing about it is that a lot of the technology systems, whether it's through Maya or whether it's through its Unreal, is similar in a way, and you can also cross connect a lot of like model rig for Maya and 2. But do you have anything else to add to that?
Yes, I have 3 very big professor recommendations and one hot take about the Ryan Smith class. First of all, if you're taking 313 with the idea that it's gonna be a collaborative class, in the Unreal teams, when I took it, it was you by yourself, so no collaboration, and now it's very small. So if you're taking that class, it's more of an Unreal class than a collaboration class. I still think it's a good thing, because Unreal is important to know. But yeah, just be mindful of that. As for good professors, I would say Bill Tessier gets a lot of bad reps online because he's a hard grader, but you need that. Like, he will give you the feedback no other professor will. He's gonna like feed that animation until it's like so good that you feel like you're a whole new other person. Tiffany Blevins.
Yes.
I was gonna say- If you're not 3D, you should still get to know this lady. She does like a field trip to Oakland Wildlife Park, and she brings chickens to class. She's super cool. Definitely a great class, and she's doing an expanded creatures class now, which I've heard good stuff about. And my last recommendation is Keith Osborne. I think he's only doing online now, but used to be presential, and he's really good for the cartoony portion of stuff. I'm not sure if he will keep doing classes, but he has been talking about leading Scat. But if you see him pop up in the Scat Now classes, Keith Osborne, please take him. He's the sweetest guy ever, and he will give you like the freedom to break models, have stretching them, sad, like anything you want, smears and stuff like that. So
with Blevins, she has a really good eye for finding list mistake, whether it's in the graph chart, whether it's that. She's tough, but she's really good at when you come out of that class, you learn something just as you're paying for it. Even so I'm taking Danish now for character expressions, and I'm sure a lot of us have done theater or love theater, and he pushes that aspect of trying to take that extra step from realism into making it appealing to the eye. So again, I keep tying it back to Spider-Verse, but there's so much that breaks Spider-Verse down. It was like anatomy. That hand is not reaching that far out. He's teaching you how to push that. And that's the freedom with Ruby is that you can make these little tweaks and pull the eye and play.
Oh, and Crossly is good for people who are doing animation, well, 2D animation and 3D because it does both. So if you have a 2D inclined brain, I don't do 2D, I've never done 2D. My brain does not work that way. But I have a friend who's trying to be 3D, only does 2D. Was really struggling to Crossly. Crossly explained things to her in a way she could understand coming from 2D. So
And even like one last little thing with I think everybody should learn Maya and Unreal, because that's the industry it is today. A lot of companies are moving towards 2D and or towards the 3D production pipeline. So it's always important to kind of have an understanding of how to move a character, whether it is 2D or 3D. You never know where you might be moving. Yeah.
I might add on to that. I would also say learn Blender.
Yes.
If you didn't know, fun fact, the entirety of Sonic 3 was made in Blender. Characters and all. It's becoming an industry standard. They're using a lot of Skynet is, up and coming, so I would say Blender.
Yeah. Does Tech want to talk about that real quick? Yeah.
Okay, everyone on Tech, like, Ahmed is great. For rigging, he explains everything amazing because I didn't have the best experience with rigging in 190. So going into Ahmed's class and like actually learning what rigging is so good.
It's so interesting. He genuinely cares.
Yeah.
He cares about getting you interested in things. He wants to foster that interest because he teaches every other rigging class at SCAD. SCAD has 4 rigging classes and then a coding class that he doesn't teach the coding class anymore, but everyone should take those rigging classes. They're so useful if you want to do anything with character modeling, character animation, like they're so useful. In terms of tech, if you take classes and kind of they give you like an intro to a lot of different skills that do build on each other, but you can kind of pick where you want to specialize. Because an intro class goes over environment modeling, texturing, and lighting, and a little bit of how you like animate your environment. The second class is modeling or rigging, depending on what you do first. Then you have character. Then you have
it's character look dev. Right now I'm doing lighting with Sean Schur. I think he's a newer professor.
I love Sean Schur.
I really liked his class so far, and
he's amazing.
It's very lecture heavy, but it definitely shows that he knows what he's talking about. So he's great for lighting. That's the one good thing about like the merger is that you don't have to take these previous classes before you can take lighting or like cloth sim. I think now
you're not locked into a specific order.
And then character modeling, I have Hannah Keen, I think that's her name. She's really sweet. I think she's also a newer professor. Also kind of, she takes a lot of the class critiquing and like doing these small little details that you think, I don't know, you don't really think about it that much. And I feel like, okay, she's one of the few professors that has actually gone in depth on like these small little shortcuts in Maya that I feel like other tech and professors don't really do. Like there's so many tools that she's taught that I'm like, why was I not taught this earlier? So she's great. And another great character class is actually game 333.
Yes, with Parrish Baker.
Yes, if that's like you want to go more into ZBrush or just like learn everything about like the basics in ZBrush, he's great too.
Yeah, and the nice thing about at least my experience with every tech professor, they really push you in a way that makes you want to be better. Like especially Cordero. He's amazing. He's amazing. He's amazing. He teaches like a lot of the little extra stuff. Did you have Ryan Smith? Yeah. Cordero teaches you a lot of the Maya shortcuts a little bit earlier than we were in 249 together.
Yeah.
And it's so good to learn more about that kind of stuff because 190 when I took 190, I was really scared of Maya. I was really dealing with that because I was still StoryCon at the time. And my fall quarter, I took 249 with you, and I took the intro to StoryCon at the same time. And doing both of those classes together helped me be a little less afraid of Maya and realize I didn't want to draw all the time. So that it definitely kind of solidified where I wanted to go. And every tech professor I've had has just really felt very encouraging that they really want to push your work. And they really encourage you to not be afraid of getting your homework and beautiful projects just torn to pieces. And they build you back up again after doing it, and you get so much better so fast.
Yeah.
You have to, or you gotta figure it out.
To jump on that, like I think people think of like a lot of people come into SCAD and they're like, I want to draw a picture, you know, and people think like people think people think of tech and Storycon as being far apart. That it not they're really close. We're like probably like closer than
If I can actually like jump in on the Cordero like I would say if you're interested in StoryCon, take his modeling classes, whether it be 249 and then 349.
It's called
It's
202, 210.
Oh yeah, it might have changed because it's VFX now, but if you can take a modeling class with Cordero, if you want to be a concept artist, you have to learn 3D. Contemporary concept art demands it, whether you like it or not. And learning those shortcuts and being able to produce a block out really quickly is invaluable. It will get you hired. I promise you. I swear to God.
One important thing for tech classes now, they're now VFX classes. They're not anime classes. They teach the same content. They're not skewing you, but it's different now because the intro class is now 210. Reading the numbers the same, modeling the numbers the same.
Yeah, character modeling the same. The only ones that are like use still anim if you're still in tech is just like the anim business and collaboration class.
Yeah, but that's the general stuff. That's not really the actual concentration. Instead of the additional modeling class, you can do a procedural modeling class instead.
Oh yeah,
that's an option. I kind of want to go back and take that one just anyways, because that's so useful for like a city block out or anything like that. I need to go borrow some, but there's a lot of options. The VFX major like merge. It both opened doors and closed doors in a way that doesn't like cause problems, but it's just really confusing right now because we're kind of in a weird middle.
Yeah.
It'll mellow out.
Yeah. I also went to glaze on Timothy Steele. Take him if you want to know the wonders of Houdini and like in like the look depths, like what I mean, the look of material, all that shit. Take Timothy Steele. He's amazing. His standards are very high, but it pushes you to like do better. But he's also like a really funny, nice guy. That's my experience with him. And he is so eager to teach you stuff. Like if you're actually like, there wanting to work, like he'll be like, come here, I'm gonna show you this cool thing on Houdini real quick. And you're like, holy shit. Anyways, so yeah, so what we're saying.
I think you mentioned Steel. I was gonna say real quick that for Keen and Steel, they're probably the most hysterically different that a class can be with two different professors. It's kind of important to know. Because Keen's like texturing class is like all like you do it by hand, etc. Whereas like Steel is much more focused on like procedural and Houdini. And like if you're trying to do the DreamWorks style and you take Steel, it's gonna be completely different than if you were to take Keen, etc. Like,
both are like I
both
feel
are great.
Both are great though. You know what I mean? Like some people really like procedural stuff. More other people like the detail, like you're doing it yourself kind of thing. So again, it depends on what you want to do. I think they're both
and then sorry.
No, sorry,
you're good.
More likely than not, you'll have to take both of them for something at some point. Because Steele's the only one who teaches the hair block.
Yeah,
and it's usually Keen or Cordero that teaches the character, and Cordero teaches it like once in a blue year. So you'll have them both. They're great. They're really nice. Yeah.
Keen's also
Yeah.
but
And then for stop mo, there's only one professor, right?
Like the math quiz, if you are not taking stop motion and you still want to meet the guy, this is great. I would recommend this anime history class. It's the chillest anime history class out there, but you will still learn a lot. And the guy talks like about really interesting things, so I recommend it. For stop motion, you should be glad that he's the only option because I think he's the best teacher I've had in SCAD, like period. He will teach you everything you need to know in the best way possible. But there's one thing, the sequencing for stop motion is really important. Stop motion 1 is only offered in winter and in fall. And if you don't take stop motion 1, you cannot take stop motion 2. Now, stop motion 2 is talked about as one class only, but in reality, it's 2 classes. So you should have like the whole spring quarter set out for only stop motion and maybe a lecture. If you can, just take the 2 stop motion classes. I would highly recommend it because it's the most intense quarter you'll have in your life. It was an experience. But you can substitute the classes to fit into your schedule. So for stop motion 2, you can change that for your animation collaborative class, so I did not take a 395. I did that instead, and you can also substitute it for your internship credit, if you do that correctly. So just talk to your advisor and know that they might not know everything, or they might tell you that's not possible. If they do that, go talk to someone in the lab or go talk to Nathan. It's very easy to sub the classes and it's very easy to find this space for them. Just know that they're very time consuming classes and that you do need one to the other. And you definitely need both classes if you're gonna do sub or custom. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that there's no like specific production classes at SCAD for like animation production, but do you guys have any professors that you feel like know a lot about like production that you'd recommend for any of that?
I don't have any.
Yeah, it's something that you kind of have to learn. Huh?
Yeah, I've never taken him, but yeah, I would say Rich is. He's friends with we just had her on, Allison Shribnick, he's like friends with her and she was, she's a producer right now and they were close friends and they did a project together. So that's probably why, you would probably go to Rich for that stuff, but most of what I learned is just through either.
You have to do it.
Yeah, you really do, yeah.
Yeah, with collaborative classes, I feel.
Yeah.
You're talking about SCAD animation studios as well. Learning through the professors who are gonna be running those productions is a really great way to be like, hey, I'm interested in production, is that something that we can work on together?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's not a class, they don't offer this.
Yeah.
For sure.
Showing the APG
Oh, yes.
club.
Yeah, Animation Producers Guild, true. Yeah.
But yes, definitely SCAD animation studios take that, but other than that, if you're like really interested in like, oh, what's production, and you're like one of the people that really likes organization and just like very detailed, consider trying to be a PA to someone, because like if you don't really know what you're doing yet, maybe not take like a head production role, because like that's dangerous for both you and your team. So consider me like, if you already know some of your friends who are like a producer or like a production coordinator, reach out to them like, hey, can I do a PA, can I contribute, can I help you and stuff like that. That's the best way for you to learn what production is and how to do it. If you can get into SCAD animation studios, there's a lot of indie projects who's constantly looking for production coordinators. So once you have like a good understanding of what production is, maybe consider doing that, because that will give you more experience ever.
Yeah, super good. Cool. All right. Next, on the wrong tab. Okay. Oh no, I just passed it. So a little bit about like the pipeline. I know that we've touched on this a little bit, but different concentrations kind of have different sections of like the entire animation pipeline. But we can talk about like, I think the first thing that usually comes with it is more StoryCon's area anyways. So you want to talk about it?
So ultimately, I feel like this is a difficult question because there are so many different types of productions.
Yeah.
Where oftentimes like storyboard and design are kind of happening simultaneously. But usually the bigger the studio is, the more resources you'll have to work from before you start concept design. So typically you would hope that you'd be working from an established script or storyboard. And you essentially just iterate. It's an extremely iterative process. You kind of have to be willing to let go all of your ideas, let your babies die. All of your ideas are ultimately probably going to be trashed. You have to remember all the time that concept art is just not about you.
Yeah.
So try not to take any of that stuff to heart. So your pipeline is going to be very much like coming up with a bunch of ideas. It's a very much like front-loaded process as well, I'll say. So I work full-time in concept design. So right now, a lot of the work that you do, it's front-loaded. So a lot of your iteration is done in a mass volume from the beginning, and then you kind of funnel it down into one idea, refining, how does this actually work? How does this function? How does this wall attach to the floor? How does this door actually work? Does it open inward or outward? You're kind of thinking about the actual function of design before you pass it off to like a 3D team or you pass it off to a layout team.
Yeah, real. That's so true.
And that goes for both character and environment. Like you also have to think about how characters work as much as environments or vehicles or anything kind of mechanical. So 3D especially, you need to understand how things work.
Yeah. And for the 2D pipeline, what does that kind of look like?
So we kind of like pick up at the story on scraps, basically.
Yeah.
So they kind of give us what we want, and our job is to usually I feel like because a lot of 2D animators also have the ability to go into storyboarding. So you would also be in that pre-production phase where you're just figuring out shots and why are you doing this and doing that. It's a lot of purposeful decisions when you're creating these type of things, and it follows you into your animation. So if you're getting a board, you're basically doing usually like with tests, layouts, roughs, keyframes. You're basically trying to, because animation is so time consuming, which a lot of the times, like early on, you're testing out timing, you're testing out your spacing, your layout.
Layout, your character acting, all those stuff. I think for 2D animation, it's more like concentrated in a way. Like you're not doing like a bazillion things at once. It's just like you try to animate, try to take whatever storyboard team give you and try to make them into like a good time.
Yeah, it also depends on like the studio and the studio, and I would say the type of 2D animation working on. So, for example, Amazing World of Gumball is hand drawn, but it's also puppets. So a lot of the times, a lot of the work comes from you finding ways to. You're doing a lot of redrawing for like drawing substitutions, but like that's a whole tube movie. Learn that later. But you're learning like you're like learning how to really just cut corners because it's so time consuming. You have to find a way to make something get done as soon as possible, but also make it look good as possible. And when you're on a 2D film, you do get engines for 2D film, it is a lot of really you have to do the same thing. You're kind of like you can't get attached to your animation because your scene, you're like, oh yeah, it's scene cut. We're not doing this anymore. You can spend like 3 months like doing a 3-pin shot around a character. You're doing like some James Baxter, Lion King, full 360 drawing. Never get rid of it. Maybe like
don't get attached.
You gotta get attached.
You guys ever watched the animation graph by Swampy and Dan Schneider? None of you guys have watched that? Oh man.
Great.
Yeah,
That's
we could talk about that.
And no, I
later.
know what you mean, that's because they literally point that out specifically. Like they throw it in the trash, so it's like, hey, I worked hard on that, and like, who cares? Like who cares, like, we gotta keep going, we gotta keep going, like, that's
And
what I mean.
for the 3D pipeline, how is that different than 2D?
Fairly similar to get the storyboards, but the
Yeah.
easy part of it is that focus on getting our shots in first, because we always animate first. If you've seen a lot of like the backstage photos behind like Disney or Pixar films, those character leads are broken to figure out how to make this back. You all seen the Mirabelle one? With
Yes.
her arms and her elbows are just out there. It's all cheating to the camera, but to make it look good, we can also focus on camera lenses too, so we tie a lot into film students as well. But we're not film students, we're animators. So we can really focus on that, but getting to the actual animation itself is very much similar in the way that we figure out camera shots with storyboard too. And then we do breakdowns, so figure out the key poses. Oh, and of course, just like 2D references. Always reference yourself because the best animation you're gonna get is from yourself or your fellow viewers. It's always genuine and it comes across as so realistic at the same time. So after we do the blockouts where the key poses are pushed and they're perfect, that's when you get into the breakdowns. And then you start following each of the elements of this animation, follow through, squash and stretch, etc. Whatever you can do, really make it into this perfect shot. Or it can also get scratched. But the easy thing about 3D animation is you can tweak it easier and just move model around. You can't just draw it away. So it's a lot easier to kind of figure out like, okay, instead of this arm being here, we can just kind of figure out. So it's a little forgiving in a way, but it's still like you put in a lot of time, put in a lot of hard work. You just gotta brush your knees off, get back up, and make the shot stronger.
Yeah. Good answer. Yeah, and then tech has kind of like both pre-production and like production and post-production, so you kind of have all that.
But you kind of have to do a lot really fast and then you wait for like ever, and then you have to do a lot really fast.
It'll be in the middle, it'll be like, hey, can you fix this? It's kind of broken. But otherwise, yeah, it's mostly pre and post production.
Yeah, because you need to you work with the concept art when you have it, you gotta gather references. In case you need like one specific thing that a concept artist couldn't draw because we need one angle to get it right. Which happens sometimes, but it's sort of the, you kind of have to go really, you have to build your models fast, you have to pass it along so that way someone can texture it, you have to make sure they're unique correctly, you have to make sure everything's laid out, you have to make sure you have the right shaders there, you have to make sure nothing's corrupted, which is fun adventure, Maya crashes, and the fun little things that happen during the 24-hour check.
You definitely have to be thinking of like who you're passing it on to next.
Yes,
Like you have to be very aware of that.
yeah, especially when you're building rigs.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time you have to really make sure that things are set up in a way where the animator can know what they can break versus what they shouldn't break, because then you gotta come by and fix the rig. If you take Ahmed's rigging class, the advanced rigging class specifically, he has you build like a little do not touch folder within the rig, so that way you know what needs to stay intact, or else you have to basically rebuild the whole thing. But yeah, so you pass everything along, you wait for animation to be done. You kind of build like a light rig as people are animating, but it's one of those things you kind of do just have to wait until it's done. And then when you're actually lighting, then you have to wait for a test render to show up in order to actually continue. Unless you're doing it in Unreal, but I don't know. I haven't used Unreal as much for like full animated scenes. But it's a lot of right at the beginning and then right at the end. You have to work quickly in both scenarios.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for your 3D images. We love you guys so much.
Yes. And then Stopmo like has a whole different pipeline kind of, doesn't it?
Like live action type of pipeline, more than worrying about like, I need to get this rig done for like this whole film, or I need to get this environment done for the whole film. We think in stages. So each stage can be at a different stage of the pipeline, if I'm explaining myself well. So like you can have one stage that's being built and light while the other one is being animated. So that's also interesting for producers. If you're planning to produce for stop motion, I am producing the Hermit Capstone. You should produce for stop motion. Don't think that because you're producing for 3D or 2D that it will translate, because it's a very different skill. I think you're better off being a live action film producer and then jumping into stop mo. It's mainly about like tracking assets and fixing stuff. Our rigs or puppets literally break. It's not like you go into the file and you fix it, it's the arm is gone. You need to make a whole new puppet. So it's just like the physicality of the medium makes it run a little differently, but within the classes, you'll start learning stuff, and each production has to explore different things. So you just need to keep stages shooting, keep stuff moving along, make what needs to be present in the camera. You always work only for the camera. There's no thing outside of what you're seeing. If it's not in the camera, like you don't do it. So you're just focusing on getting specific shots up and running, taking them down, and bringing the next one in until the film is done. It's basically the whole thing.
Yeah, cool. And then production kind of is the pipeline. Yeah.
Make sure there's a big problem.
Yeah.
Yes, so, yeah.
You're kind of there for all aspects of it.
I will say it's busy even before pre-production, so I was like, that there's a pre-production where we kind of figure out like, what we need, schedule the deadline, how many people we have, what we can do, we go over everyone's skill set, and is what we're trying to do in scope, and like, it's a whole bunch of figuring out even before the pre-production, just so that way every, like, pre-production, production can run smoothly. And then after that, after the concept, you're gonna be also doing more like the festival and like the other stuff, so it's like, you're there the whole way, but it's busy even before the pre-prod and then busy after.
Yeah, and you're talking with each group too, like you have to be a good communicator, because like you are the, you're the
bridge.
The glue, the bridge, you know what I mean? You're going here and there and there. But when you're in like an actual like industry professional like production, outside of classwork and all that stuff and class projects, you will probably be working with people who are gonna, be either taking notes for you or like going to, if you're the big producer,
If you're the big guy.
you have the guys who are going to each and it's like communicating, but it's a longer chain of it. But it's still like being able to like understand the moving parts and talking with people. So
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
Big break.
Then, all right. So the next thing is about career opportunities. So kind of like, what are those career opportunities? What